opening sessions and remind ourselves why we are here. Always important before we start any activity to remind ourselves why we're doing this, for what purpose. And, it's always good to remind ourselves again and again and again. Okay, so whatever we can learn from this session, this discussion, may it be a benefit for all sentient beings as best as we can. Okay. So in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be set free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the supreme happiness which is without suffering. And may they remain in the boundless equanimity, free from both attachment to close one and rejection of others. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon, imagined as a Buddha land, and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. Tram Guru Ratna Mandala Buddha Mega Samudra Saparana Samaya Hum. So please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to the disposition and likewise the mental capacities of all sentient beings. Okay, that's good. Does anyone have any questions regarding the previous teaching session from Rinpoche? He did a recap.
Effie,
Yes.
yeah, can you just with slides teach it again for us in simple words?
Okay,
Because
so yeah.
yeah, it's so high leveled for us. So we try to understand, but for me, I'm not that good. I'm very yeah. For me, it's difficult
I think it's
to
difficult
understand.
for everyone, for everyone. It's
So
okay.
I
So we
I
try our
try
best.
to follow, and I looked again to the teachings, but yeah, it's for me it's easier when you do it on slides, and then I can follow better.
Yeah, it's not easy for everyone. It's the same for all of us, but we try slowly, slowly and make it a little
Yeah,
bit more simple
yeah,
without just we try to make it a bit more simple, but without losing the essence. That's
yeah,
yeah. Okay. So Rinpoche already did in the previous session, he did a recap anyway. So this will be part of the presentation as well. So we can do the recap from the session, and it covers some of the previous sessions. And this Buddha nature topic is very nice because it gives us a lot of encouragement to practice, because we know that we're not wasting our time, So the practice is possible, and the achievements are possible because of the Buddha nature. Okay, so now this is the review session from Rinpoche's teaching from the 8th of January. And we're going to talk about the Shentong versus the Rangtong again, because Rinpoche mentioned it again. And the omnipresence, what does it mean? That the omnipresence of the Buddha nature. So it means that every sentient being has the Buddha nature. And it gives like 3 reasons why. So let's do the recap. Remember that we said that Tathagata Garbha, the Buddha nature, is not Tathagata, the Buddha. However, Everyone has Buddha nature. And the only difference is if the Buddha nature is covered or if it's visible. Okay, that's the only difference. So the Tathagata Garbha, the Buddha nature, is when the Buddha essence is covered with like dirt, negativities, afflictions, which are like the sun and the clouds. And when the dirt, negativities, affliction are completely removed, then that's the Buddha. Okay, so even though it's the same underneath, it's not the same on the surface, because then people think, oh, I'm Buddha, I can do what I want, nothing touches me. No, it's not like that. And the Buddha nature is perfect and pure as it is. You cannot add anything, you cannot remove anything. It's as it is. So its essence is already pure. It's just covered, it, like I said, with the dirt. Think of like the dirt covering like a beautiful diamond or gold. And all the qualities are already present in the Buddha nature. That's why there's nothing to add. And it says there's nothing to remove because the dirt is not part of the Buddha nature. It's just covering it. So this is what it means. Nothing to remove, nothing to add. So it's like a lot of analogies like the gold mixed with dirt. The gold is pure. You just remove it from the gold, the dirt. And Rinpoche mentioned about the two types of emptiness according to the second Dharma wheel and according to the third Dharma wheel. So let's look at these. And then Rinpoche says that the Longchenpa's outline is very important. So in the book, it talks about the Bodhisattva approach, okay? And this is the title of the section, the Bodhisattva approach. Before this, it was talking about the basis, the view. And from here on, it talks about the path. And the basis is something that is taught before, the basis, or you can say the view, the basis, the ground, it's the same thing. Because once we know what the view is, or the basis, or the ground, then we can start looking at the path. And Rinpoche mentioned before that why is it always the first is the view? Like remember the eightfold noble path, the first one is having the right view. Because the view is like the eyes, and we need to see where we're going before we start going. And going is the path. So once we know the view, we can start then exploring the path. Because we have the knowledge of the view, then we do the path with the knowledge of the view. Okay. So when Longchenpa explains the path is, what is the path? It's essentially, it's our practice, what we're doing. We practice the 6 parameters, we do all our pujas, and all this is the path. So once when Longchenpa explains the path, he talks about 3 things. First, it's the nature of this spiritual potential. And Rinpoche said, use the word caste. This is the Buddha nature. So you hear spiritual potential, Tathagata Garbha, Sukata Garbha, caste. All this is the same word for Buddha nature. It's just using different nice poetic words. So he talks about the nature of the spiritual potential, the nature of the Buddha nature. Okay? And then he says, whoever has this Buddha nature, he explains how do they generate bodhicitta. So first we have, everyone has the Buddha nature. And second, then, since we have the Buddha nature, how do we generate bodhicitta? Sorry, this is a mistake. I beg your pardon. You shouldn't say how to generate bodhicitta on the 3rd slide. It's then how they traverse the path. So A, the spiritual potential, which is the basis. Second, whoever has this spiritual potential is how to generate bodhicitta. And the third is how they traverse the path. This should be the third. So I will, how do you say? I will fix this before I send it, okay? So the third here, it should be how they traverse the path, okay? So this is important. Rinpoche said this outline is very important. Okay, 3 things. And we're talking about the Buddha nature now. And Rinpoche said, well, Longchenpa puts the Buddha nature in the path section, okay? So, but Rinpoche prefers to put the Buddha nature in the basis section, in the ground section, because this is the basis for all. This is what Rinpoche said in the preface. He said he doesn't want to put the Buddha nature as part of the path section, but he wants to put it as part of the basis or the ground section. And he said this is important. Why? Because we're talking about the basis or the view. Again, all these words mean the same thing: basis, ground, view. This is all the same thing. It's a bit confusing when they're using different words, because it's kind of uniting the second and third Dharma wheels. Okay, so we'll talk about that. This is a little bit of a recap. And then the next thing we will talk about is the great debate, Shentong versus Rangtong, which is Buddha nature empty or is it not empty? Okay, and this was a big debate. And then the third one is understanding what is temporary. And then finally, the 3 reasons why all beings have Buddha nature. Okay. So let's look at the first one. So the Dharma, the second Dharma wheel and the third Dharma wheel united. And this is from the previous section teaching. During the second Dharma wheel, the Buddha taught that form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And we spent a full chapter learning about this. So emptiness is the ultimate truth, and form, like appearances, what we see, is the relative or the all-concealing truth. I think this is clear, yes, for everybody. Now, what happens in the third Dharma wheel? So in the third Dharma wheel, the Buddha goes deeper into the appearance aspect, okay? And then he says, appearances which are from the wisdom mind is the ultimate truth, because the Buddha sees differently from what we see. And the appearances from the afflictive mind, which is us, is the relative truth, so all-concealing truth. So putting these together, yes, form is emptiness, okay, but also emptiness is clarity, okay? So this is Rinpoche's reason why he believes that Buddha nature belongs to the basis, to the ground, to the view, because we're talking about emptiness. What is emptiness? According to the second and the third Dharma wheel. And we put these together now. So Buddha nature belongs to the basis, and it's understanding how things are. When we have cleared our confusion, when we have cleared our negativity and afflictions, then we understand how things are, not how they appear only. So this appears to me like a black thing, and it's plastic and all that, but if I had cleared all my afflictions, I would see it differently. I would see it that this is the result of interdependent origination. It's put together, it was created, it was designed, and it's got all these components, and it's not something that is permanent. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay. So now an explanation of the Buddha nature. So Longchenpa goes into detail on what is the nature of this spiritual potential. This spiritual potential is the Buddha nature. And this spiritual potential is the basis of the Bodhisattva path. So up until this point, we already talked about the nature of the spiritual potential, which is the Buddha nature. The next section is the omnipresence of the spiritual potential, the omnipresence of the Buddha nature, which means that all sentient beings have Buddha nature. And then the other two sections, Rinpoche hasn't started them yet. Okay, so number one we did and we're doing. Number two we started, and then 3 and 4 it's for later. Now let's go to this Rang Tong and Shen Tong debate. So in the book, in Longchenpa's book, he has one quote which says, "The highest continuum states," and the highest continuum is the Uttara Tantra Shastra. It says, although one's fundamental being is empty of adventitious factors that are characterized as separate from it, it is not empty of unsurpassable factors that are characterized as inseparable from it. What does it mean? Fundamental being is the Buddha nature. So, although our Buddha nature is empty of the dirt, so this is the adventitious factors, the dirt, the afflictions, the negativity, the obscurations, the ignorance, all the dirt. Let's call it all the dirt. Okay, so even though our Buddha nature is empty of the dirt, it is not empty of the Buddha qualities. Okay, the wisdom qualities. That's what it says. So this one sentence is the basis for this entire debate of what is Buddha nature empty of and what is Buddha nature not empty of. And this needs to be clear to us. And I think it's clear. It's empty of the dirt, but it's not empty of the Buddha qualities. That's it. It's very simple. So just to talk again about what is Rang Tong and what is Sheng Tong. Rang Tong is empty of self. All phenomena are empty. There's no exception to this, including Buddha nature. And the Gelugpa and the Sakyapa have this position. And then what is the Sheng Tong? The Sheng Tong is empty of other, so meaning that the Buddha nature is not empty of the qualities, but empty of temporary afflictions. And this is the Dolpopa from Sangye Dolpopa from, I think, Rinpoche's village first talked about this, and the Kagyo Nyima traditions talk about this or follow this approach. So, Buddha nature is empty. Yes, it is empty, but of what? Of all the dirt. Okay? But it's not empty of all the Buddha qualities. So this is basing the Rang Tong and Shen Tong debate. Is that clear? Because I think it's simple. Yes, it's empty, like everything is empty, of all the dirt, of all the negativities, of all the affliction, but it's not empty of the Buddha qualities. So there are two different relationships. Buddha nature with samsara is like the sun with the clouds. So samsaric things, Buddha nature and samsaric things. The clouds block the sun, but they don't change the sun. They are temporary and can be separated. And temporary is whatever can be removed by antidotes. So we have the Buddha nature. All the dirt we have is blocking the Buddha nature, but it doesn't touch it. It doesn't change it. Okay, and we can remove all our dirt using antidotes. And this is what the Buddhist path helps us to do. And the relationship between Buddha nature and nirvana things is like the sun with the rays. The rays are the sun. Can you remove the rays from the sun? Not possible. So this is all the Buddha. You can't take the rays away from the sun. It's together. It's permanent, cannot be separated. And permanent means whatever cannot be removed by any antidote. So the Buddha qualities are part of the Buddha nature. That's it. They're not separable. Okay? So this is what it means, what is temporary and what is permanent. Temporary is whatever can be removed by antidotes, and permanent is what cannot be removed by antidotes. The Buddha nature with respect to samsaric things can be separated, and the Buddha nature with respect to nirvana things cannot be separated. So that's like the recap from before. And it says in the book, again, as it was before, so is it afterwards. The unchanging nature of phenomena. The Buddha nature before and the Buddha nature after is exactly the same. The only difference is all the dirt has been removed. That's it. So we don't have anything to gain. We just remove, 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 and remove. We don't create new things. We just remove. So the purpose of doing this Buddhist practice and study is to remove, 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 not to get, remove, because we already have everything we want. Everything is there already. So it's not, we don't do Buddhist practice to get, to gain, to accomplish. No, we do it just to remove, remove, and remove. And then what is there will just appear. It's very nice, isn't it? So the Buddha nature's essence never changes. The Buddha nature is the same in ordinary beings as it is in the Buddhas. The only difference is whether we have the dirt or not, no dirt. Okay? And it's like the space, like the space. The universe can be burnt, can be destroyed, can be whatever. Like it says in the book, there's a whole paragraph on this cosmology about the fire and the floods and everything. But the space, nothing happens to the space. The space is always there. That's the Buddha nature. So here we have a paradox, which was this was a little bit confusing, I have to admit. We have birth, death, suffering. Birth, death, suffering is coming from karma and afflictions. So we have our karma, we have our afflictions, and this creates the cycle of samsara, birth, death, suffering. Okay? Now our karma and our afflictions are coming from not recognizing awareness. Okay? We don't recognize what we are, what we have, what is truly there. So what happens? We create karma and we have afflictions. And not recognizing this is coming from the Buddha nature. So even all this dirt and crap and obscurations and all this is from our Buddha nature. It's sustained within our mind's lucid nature. This is also, it's not part of the Buddha nature, but it's, it's from there. And the Uttara Tantra Shastra says, earth is based on water, water is based on air, air is based on space, but space is not based on anything. And Buddha nature is the space. Our ignorance is based on clarity. Buddha nature is our pure nature. It's clarity. But then all these things are coming. But clarity is not based on ignorance. So even though we have all this dirt, it's all coming from the Buddha nature because we don't recognize it. That's why. We don't see it. Okay? So this was a bit confusing. Any questions up to now? That I can try and answer as best I can? Excuse me. Oh, okay. Now, the three reasons that prove that all beings have Buddha nature, and they've always had Buddha nature. Again, the Uttara Tantra Shastra says, because the kaya of perfect Buddhahood is pervasive, number one. Because the state of suchness is indivisible, number two. And because all beings possess the spiritual potential, number three. Then beings are forever endowed with Buddha nature. That's what it says. Rinpoche said that these we have to learn them off by heart. These are the three very famous reasons why all beings have Buddha nature. So he said, this one we need to learn off by heart. So the first one is quite easy to understand. Sorry, the third one is quite easy to understand. So it's like all beings possess the spiritual potential. So the Buddha nature pervades all beings. Okay? And the second one is because the state of suchness is indivisible. The Buddha nature is inseparable from the suchness. So then everyone has the potential to have enlightenment. So because the kaya of perfect Buddhahood is pervasive, so it says that if beings practice, then the mind, then we have the kaya of perfect Buddhahood is always there, is in everyone. Then through the practice, through the path, the mind becomes more and more clear. Okay, and as soon as it becomes super clear, then it can be omniscient. Okay, and why can we do this? Because the Buddha nature is there. Remember, I said nothing to attain, nothing to accomplish, nothing to gain, just removing all the dirt. That's the point of the practice. Just remove it and remove it and remove it. So when we practice, everyone can be enlightened. Because why? Because we already have it there inside. It's waiting to be cleaned. It's waiting to appear. Okay? Everyone has Buddha nature. Any questions before we go to the conclusions?
Is the kaya of perfect Buddhahood the body?
No, the kaya is the result. Remember, we have the ground, the path, and the result. So it's the Buddhahood. And because this Buddhahood is already inside us, okay, it's pervasive of everyone. So practicing the path, we come to this result, and the result is already there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, let's go for the recap. So to conclude, what we need to remember. So important to remember is the two types of emptiness. One, it's according to the second wheel of Dharma and the third wheel of Dharma. The second wheel of Dharma is empty of inherent existence, and according to the third wheel of Dharma, empty of afflictions, but not of wisdom. What is temporary? Temporary is something that is removable by antidotes, and samsara is temporary things. And permanent is something that it cannot be removed by antidotes, and that's the nirvanic things. So samsaric things are temporary and can be separate from the Buddha nature. And the nirvanic things, which is like the Buddha qualities, are permanent and cannot be separated from the Buddha nature. Think of the sun and the clouds and the sun and its rays. And what we need to memorize, the three reasons. One, why all sentient beings always have Buddha nature. One, because the Dharma Kaya pervades all. And don't worry about this terminology, Dharmakaya and all that, because it will come after what it means. That suchness is indivisible and all beings have the potential to become Buddha. That's it. Any questions? I can stop the sharing and we can talk about the 4 logics, which is a little bit complicated, but we'll do our best. Okay. Any questions before we start with the 4 logics? This Buddha nature topic is very important because if we don't believe we have Buddha nature, then there's no point in doing anything, this Buddhist stuff, okay? But because we have Buddha nature, then we do the Buddhist stuff. And we have like the, how do you say, like the conviction that by doing the Buddhist stuff, we will get there, okay? And getting there doesn't mean obtaining new things. It means just removing the dirt. That's it. It's very simple, isn't it? And very nice. Okay. So let's, Olga, I think, are you okay if I will talk slowly because I don't have a preparation for any presentation for this, but I will talk slowly. So, okay. We learned before in the emptiness section, the view section, that everything is empty. And the 4 logical arguments of the middle way are 4 ways to establish that everything is empty. Okay, that's just 4 ways. And it is quite complicated, but let's try to make it simple. I will do my best, but I'm not sure if I will succeed or not, because it's quite complicated. Okay. So one way to establish that everything is empty is by doing an investigation of the causes of things. Okay, and we also call that the diamond splinters. This is also called. So when we, excuse me, when we investigate what is the ultimate reality of the objects of appearances, we can see things. Remember, what we see, how things appear, is not how they are. So when we want to investigate the ultimate reality of what we see, then we can investigate on the cause of things, how things are caused. That's the first logic. And this helps us cut through our grasping, okay? Because if I'm grasping on this, if I've got like grasping on this, we can see what is the cause of this. So what is the cause of something being produced? And remember, the cause of something being reduced was the 4 extremes. It's produced from self, it's produced from other, it's produced from both the self and the other, or it's produced from neither the self or the other. And these 4 extremes were completely demolished. Okay, so that's when we look at the cause of phenomena. That's the first logic of the middle way. Completely demolishing the 4 extremes. Okay, so looking at the cause. The next one, the second argument of the middle way, or logical argument, the second logic is looking into the result. So something is either produced as a result. Okay, if something is produced as a result, then whatever has been created, is it something that exists or is it something that doesn't exist? Okay, for example, if something is created, then was the cause something that exists or something that doesn't exist? This is a little bit complicated. So when trying to ask these two questions, so was its cause existing in the first place? So remember when Rinpoche was talking about the Shakyapas, they thought that the apple existed from before, remember? So it just coming into manifestation. And so do we ask, so did it exist from before or did it not exist from before? So, going into this, investigating this, it just demolishes all these concepts. Okay. Then the third one is like, if it has like an essential identity, like it's neither one nor many. Trying to prove if it's either one or many demolishes that anything has like an essential identity. So like nothing has an essential identity. And the fourth one is analyzing the great interdependence. So we investigate what we call interdependence. And we can see that the interdependence of a series of things bring us to something. So it's not something that exists by itself, like magically. It is a result of a series of interdependent events which brings this together. That's it. I think that's the best I can explain it. Yeah. In the script, Arne has created. I think it talks about it. It's not like it's quite good the way it talks about it in the script. So first we analyze the cause. The first one, to repeat. Analyzing the cause, we look at the four extremes. So was something created by itself, by other, by both itself and other, and by neither itself and other. And remember these four extremes, we were demolishing them. Okay? Then we investigate the result. So was something already existing from before or not existing from before? So if something was already existing from before, then it doesn't need to be created again like a new. If a baby existed from before, how can we create the baby again? Was one of the examples that Rinpoche used. And if it's not existent from before, then how can it be produced? I think it's causing our minds to go crazy, isn't it? The third one, don't forget that these four logical arguments of the middle way were concluded by people who had very high wisdom and, did a lot of investigation and had very clear minds. So, it's a bit complicated for us. The third one is we see that we look into the essential identity of things, which we say it's neither one or many. And it's kind of like, can we analyze something if it has a true existence? Okay. And the fourth one is it goes into like directly into like form is emptiness. What the form is the things we see. What is this, the nature of the things we see? Okay. It's all a result of like an interdependent phenomena, a series of interdependent events. That's it. I'm sorry I can't explain it better because I don't have a wisdom mind. Well, my wisdom mind yet has not manifested, so I don't have contact with it yet. Okay, any questions? Bridget, did you read the script on page 150? I think it explains it well.
You've explained it more in detail for me.
I just hope I don't confuse people more.
No, for me, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So just think of it as 4 ways to prove that everything is emptiness. That's it. Okay? I'm not sure we will need to use it to debate with people, but it's good to keep it in our minds just to remind ourselves that not everything is like permanent. And the purpose of learning these things is to remove our grasping on things, on samsaric things. That's it. And this applies to everything. It's not just physical things, but mental things as well. Emotions, afflictions, everything. They can easily be let go because they're not real, they're not permanent. And that's the good news, like we said before. Because these things are not permanent, it means they can be removed. So we don't need to grasp them, hold on to them. The thoughts, the emotions, the limitations, everything that creates suffering for us, everything, they can be let go because they're not real, they're not permanent. I think that's, if we think of it like that, then we don't need to know in detail what these logics are. We don't need to prove it. Other people before us have proved it already, So we can see their reasoning, understand it, and then we can accept it if we want. Yeah. Any questions? I don't know if we have something in the chat. Let me go into the channel. Olga, is there something that from the chat? I'm in the channel now. No, okay. Okay. So I don't think there's anything else. Let's see what Rinpoche talks about next. Okay, but is the Buddha nature thing clear? Maybe I will ask, what do you understand about the Buddha nature? Ella. Yeah.
Yes, I think as you mentioned this, so I understand.
Okay. So what can you explain what it's empty of and what it's not empty of?
I can I will try in English, but it's empty without of pleasures, afflictions, but not empty of qualities.
Yeah, the Buddha qualities.
Yes,
Yes,
the Buddha
correct. So it's really simple. And you
Yeah.
can have a picture in your mind, like the sun with the clouds, or a piece of gold surrounded by dirt. These are nice examples. Or a golden Buddha statue at the bottom of the swamp, once of the muddy lake, making the water more clear and clear and clear, it manifests, it appears. And I think this is important for our practice. If we think, I do my practice, I do my prostrations, I do mandala offerings, I do reciting the Vajrasattva, why? Why am I doing all of this? It's like, why? Is it because I don't have anything else to do? No, it's because I know that the Buddha nature is in there, the gold. And by doing all these practices, the dirt is removing, clearing and clearing and clearing. And then suddenly one day I will see the Buddha nature. That's why. Okay, so this is why we're learning all these things. And why am I doing this? Because yes, I want to see the Buddha nature. Yes, I want to be free from all the suffering that I'm creating for myself, because we are doing it. Okay. And as soon as we take responsibility that we are creating our own suffering, we can do something about it. If we're blaming others for our suffering, then we can't do anything about it. So which is better? Taking responsibility and being able to do something, or blaming others and not being able to do something? I think the first one is better. And then we're not satisfied with just our own happiness. This isn't, if we're completely happy by ourselves, then we're not happy really. So not being satisfied by just our own happiness, we want the happiness for others as well. And this is the bodhicitta. Because remember why I said once, if everyone around you is miserable, is it possible to be happy? No, it's not possible. That's it. So things are very simple if we think about them in like a logical way. I can be happy by myself. No. Try it one day. Go somewhere and make everyone else miserable. Will you be happy by yourself? No. Yeah. Okay. So if there are no more questions, then we can maybe do the dedication. And remember, why do we do the dedication? Because we obviously, by discussing this wonderful, beautiful things, the good news, then we have created some merit because we didn't go out killing someone. We did something nice here. Okay. So what merit we generate here? We don't want it to go wasted. And we want it to be a cause and condition for the enlightenment of everyone, for us, for others, for everyone. So how do we make sure it doesn't go wasted? By dedicating. Let's do the dedication. By this merit, may all attain omniscience. May defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, sickness, old age, and death, from this ocean of samsara, may all beings be set free. O precious and sublime bodhicitta, may it arise where it has not yet arisen, and where it has arisen, may it never decline, but increase further and further. And then the long life prayer for Rinpoche. Om Swastei, by the power of primordial wisdom, the three jewels and the three roots, may the life of the venerable reincarnation of Orjin Choing be long and steadfast. May he realize the excellent teachings and diamantine wisdom, and may his beneficial activities of the Dharma for all sentient beings perfectly ripen. Okay, so making bodhicitta aspirations and dedications, it's full. We completed it nicely. Okay, and we also try to do this also, just not for the like a Buddhist activity, but for all activities in our day. If we do this for all activities in our day, whether it's we're working, we're getting dressed, we're having a shower, we're cooking, whatever we're doing, if we think of how this can benefit other sentient beings, then it becomes a Buddhist activity. It's not just this studying the Dharma or praying or whatever. Everything can become a Buddhist activity, everything. Even though it's not visible the result may not be visible to us, but we can have in our mind aspirations. Oh, may this benefit sentient beings. May my cooking benefit sentient beings. May my work benefit sentient beings. We might not see how it happens, but the aspiration by itself is very powerful. Okay. Okay, so if there are no more questions, no questions. So thank you, everyone. And see you in Rinpoche's next teaching. Okay, and I wish everyone a wonderful weekend full of bodhicitta. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. You too.